Saturday, black market beauties.
I'm calling you a white slaver.
And Hooker wants to set them free. Then,
I'm your son.
Scott becomes an unexpected father on the Love Boat. And it's round one when the wrong girl falls for Rourke on Fantasy Island.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
His paintings redefined comic book heroes. His vision inspired a generation. The Legend of Kingdom Come is the definitive documentary on Alex Ross, known as the Norman Rockwell of comics.
It almost looked like Renaissance paintings, except for superheroes.
He makes them look like Olympian gods.
We go behind the scenes of his definitive graphic novel, Kingdom Come, now on Blu-ray, packed with exclusive interviews and unseen artwork. Order today at legendofkingdomcome.com.
If you're here at Word Balloon, it's because you like comics, creators, conversation, pop culture subjects. Would you consider joining the League of Word Balloon Listeners? Patreon.com/wordballoon. For just $3 a month or more, you'll get exclusive access to the Word Balloon e-magazine, featuring transcriptions of some of my best conversations. When you subscribe, you'll also be part of the Word Balloon Book Club, where Brian Michael Bendis and I will pick a comic every month to review and discuss live with the League on this show. Join the League today, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you always for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suttress here. Matthew Rosenberg joining me again for Word Balloon. It's good to see you, Matthew.
It's good to be here.
Hey, and people are already chiming in and saying hello.
Oh,
and they're already covering what we're going to be talking about. Zach says Happy Monday. Mr. Manny is here. Hello, Mr. Manny. And hey, we are going to talk about Spawn.
Okay.
And Mason is right there to congratulate you on that.
Thank you, Mason.
And then we'll get into any plans for more Wildstorm, but we can talk about all that and more shortly. But first, I want to give you your props because Matt, you're like, and it makes sense because you were a punk music guy, and it feels like you do punk comic books.
Okay, yeah, I like to think so.
You know,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
If destruction be our
lot.
Thank you.
Destruction be our lot.
That's like a Star Trek title. Very good, man.
It is a reference. It is a Abraham Lincoln quote.
Proper indeed.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with the worst of dystopian worlds where AI has won. The robots have won completely. And describe our hero and our situation that we find ourselves in this dystopian future.
So if Destruction Be Our Lot is set in a future where humanity has gone extinct and we are left with the robots who once helped run society as the only remnants of our society, and they go about their every day doing their jobs and their missions and fulfilling their purpose to sort of no end. The buses drive their bus route and there's no one to get on them. The breakfast robot makes breakfast, and then the housekeeping robot throws it in the garbage, and the garbage robot takes it to landfill, but no one was ever going to eat that breakfast. And in this world, we meet the animatronic Abraham Lincoln, who is wandered out of his theme park home. And he's a little different than the other robots. He doesn't know why he's there or what his purpose is. And he has a lot of questions. And he's really, really lonely. So it's animatronic Abraham Lincoln looking for a friend is the general idea. Yeah.
Never a sunshine day in a Matthew Rosenberg book, unfortunately.
You know, I was just talking about this. We put some jokes in to balance it. If you're gonna make the lemonade, you got to put some sugar in. So yeah, that's it's a fun book, but there's some sadness, there's some loneliness, but that doesn't mean, just because he's looking for a friend doesn't mean he doesn't find a friend and make a friend. So maybe not so sad.
There you go.
But maybe he doesn't find a friend and make a friend. You have to read the book to find
out. Am I allowed to show images? It's up to you, Matt.
Yeah, go show whatever.
Okay, excellent.
And don't show the end of the book.
Well, of course not. But At the very least, we'll show Troubled Abe, if you
Trouble
will.
name. Yeah.
But Andy MacDonald is your artist?
Andy MacDonald, yeah, I'm doing it with Andy. We did Multiple Man together at Marvel a bunch of years ago, and I've been a fan of Andy's from long before that. But Andy is truly one of the great unsung heroes of comics right now. I wouldn't say unsung as just a disservice, because actually he has a lot of fans and people love him, but he is not given his due a lot, because I think he is one of the best working today. And also maybe the nicest person I've ever met. Just a genuinely kind, sweet, fun guy. It is funny having this book, how many people come out of the woodwork to tell me how much they like Andy. And then I ask him, I say, do people say that to you about me? And they do not. So, but yes, it's Andy. Francesco Segala is doing colors. If you don't know Francesco's work, he's quietly been becoming one of the top colorists in the business. And I think, not to toot our own horn, but by issue 3, I think a strong argument can be made that he is one of the all-time great colorists working today. He is doing things that I've never seen a colorist do. He is just absolutely a master. Him and Andy are the dream team, and they get better every issue. And then Hassan Otsmane Elhau on letters, best letterer in the business, letters all my books. He's the best. And and then I'm writing it with my brother Mark. So
yeah, now, is this the first time you guys have written together?
It is the first time we're together. He's my brother does a lot of other stuff. He hasn't just been waiting for me to come and ask him to do a book.
And a family of writers. We've talked about your dad before and everything, but yeah, tell me about your brother's writing.
My brother's a screenwriter by trade. He's written motion pictures and TV shows and a lot of short films. He actually founded a very influential and important film festival in New York City that still runs, and he is the creative director of that. So he's got a pretty full plate all the time, but we've talked for years about writing together. And like I said, he's a filmmaker, and so he always wanted to write a movie with me. And I'm a comic book creator, so I wanted to write a comic instead. That is my DNA. So we fought about it a lot, and I won somehow. And so here we are. It's his first comic.
Very cool. Here, I want to show more of Andy's art.
300th or something.
Oh,
yes,
it's your 300th or something.
I don't know what the number is. I have no idea.
No, but you're doing good, man.
I made a few.
Absolutely, man, and some really great ones as well. Here, some more looks at Andy's design. Man, he must have had a field day, because there really is a lot of great looking, interesting choices for some of these robots and some of these machines.
Yeah. He's it's funny, because I was with Andy yesterday, and we were talking about it, and I said, I think it's weird, because we're both very proud of the first issue and love it and stuff, but I said I think it's our weakest issue, and I know Andy, like, every issue kind of tops himself. And so by issue 3 and 4, he's doing things that I was just like, oh, I don't think anyone is even capable of doing this, like, work that he's doing. And I showed it to some people, and they were like, oh yeah, like, 2 different people were like, yeah, there's a lot of like Jeff Darrow influence, like a lot of just like he's doing a lot of like really intricate detail and this, like, as the robot stuff builds out and becomes more complicated. And I definitely see it, but he's definitely doing his own thing, and it's really it's a joy. I think even if you think the book sounds dumb, but if you like art, it's worth showing up for Andy putting on a masterclass in art.
It's really cool. Rich Johnson watching us, Matthew. So
hi, Rich. How's it going?
He wants us to show the end of the book.
Well,
I'm not Rich Johnson. That's an inside joke. I don't know if you saw that recently. I was lazy with my editing, and
sure.
I was reassuring one of your old pals, Tom Brevoort. I'm not Rich Johnson.
Yeah,
Rich like, yeah, he's not Rich Johnson. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing up, Rich. Nice to EC you.
Mason wants to know how you and your brother are splitting up the writing duties.
It's a good question. We literally do everything together. There's not a handoff. So we have outlined the whole series, and then one of us will write an outline for the issue, and the other will go in and do like rough panel descriptions, and then the other one will go back and clean up the panel descriptions, and then we go back and forth on the dialogue pass. It makes it very slow. It's a slow process, but it is fully. It's not he had an idea and I ran with it, or I had an idea and he ran with it. It is fully like every step of the process is touched by us both, which I like. I don't want to spill too many secrets, but a lot of co-written books are someone sent someone an email that said, "Here's an idea," and the other person then did it, which is, can be cool. And that, an idea sometimes is worth the same as writing the script. Sometimes it's worth more. This isn't that. This is us from day one. Well, not day one, day two. Day one was me having a weird idea of, I thought I was just dreaming about Abraham Lincoln wandering through an empty city, the animatronic Abraham Lincoln. And I said, is there a book here? And tried to figure out if that was an idea for a book. And that is the inception. But everything since then has been me and my brother's fingerprints on every step of it.
I've always loved that Abraham Lincoln animatronic, and obviously because he probably had the most to do of all the Hall of Presidents and everything. Yeah. So tell me about the choice of Abe being our hero.
So I don't know why the vision came to me. Obviously, I grew up going to Disney a lot and was always in love with the Hall of Presidents, and so that was influential. But he's obviously in terms of the country, he is obviously a figure that looms large, but also in pop culture, he is politically for a politician, he is a character whose presence is huge. And so I don't know if what of that played into my vision of this, but early on we were just like, okay, it's animatronic Abraham Lincoln. It's a thing people will understand and we won't have to explain. And what actually ended up happening is that we got pretty far along in planning the book and realized that we had a very unique problem in that, like, Abraham Lincoln comes with a whole lot of metaphorical baggage. And I've never sort of dealt with that before, but obviously, like when you deal with the Civil War and the Union and divisions among people and slavery and all of these things, Abraham Lincoln is this figure that people think about. And so they're coming into this book thinking about all these things, and that isn't really what the book is about. And so we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to strip a metaphor out of the book that we didn't want. And we went through a list of other people it could be and tried to figure out if the book was better, if it was George Washington or Uncle Sam, or, someone else. We had a bunch of present living celebrities. We thought it would be funny if it was Elton John. We thought it would be funny if it was Muhammad Ali. Like we had all these people that we really loved, and we're like, could it be Tupac? Could it be this? Could it be that? And at the end, we found reasons why it shouldn't, and it should always be Abe. And we just kept going back to Abe over and over. And eventually we were just like, well, let's embrace that. And some of who Lincoln is seeps into the book, and what that metaphor is seeps into the core of the book. And some of it is about subverting that and changing people's expectations and showing them things they don't anticipate. So yeah, that's how it's Abe. It's Abe sort of by accident of me having this vision of Abe and then not figuring out how to do the book without him.
A couple writing questions from the audience, and I'm glad because Matt's a great person, great resource to tap for this stuff. Zach wants to know, are you pretty much on the same page, or have you encountered differences of opinions? How do you get that resolved?
So yeah, it's funny. We are not pretty much on the same page, which I like. I was just talking about this a few minutes ago, but I in the past, I've always written with people. I've co-written with a bunch of people: James Tynan and Mariko Tamaki and Kelly Thompson, Alex Packnadell, Ed Brisson, Nick Spencer, like a whole bunch of people. And it's always different. It's always a different experience. Writing with my brother is fascinating because there's sort of no boundaries, because we're not going to ruin a friendship. Like we're going to have to see each other at Thanksgiving no matter what we do. So I think there's less punches pulled. There's more, we'll send back more notes that say this sucks, do it again, or like you thought this would be good and you were wrong. Like the sort of niceties are shred, which I like. But more than that, I had this realization not very long ago, looking at the Coen brothers, who I'm a huge Coen brothers fan, and since the Coen brothers have split up, they've both been making movies, and I go see their movies, obviously, and they're among the best to ever do it. And I noticed that one of them is doing, Macbeth, and it's beautiful, and it's somber, and it's about language, and it's about character, and it's just this heavy, intense play. And the other one is doing like Drive-Away Dolls, which is like a fun adventure story that has a lot of random violence and dick jokes. And I realized that together, that's a Coen Brothers movie. That they were different and I had always assumed creatively that like the correct way to work with someone is find someone who you share an interest with. And then I realized that the Coen brothers may have no shared interest whatsoever. I have no idea, but it seems like when left to their own devices, they go in completely opposite directions. And that together is what makes their work good. And I realized that, a couple of years after me and my brother started on this book, but I really feel it in this book that we pull in different directions a lot. And it's better for it because every idea has to be tested and proved, and you have to win over an audience that comes with their arms folded across their chest, sort of shaking their head. And you have to say, if this isn't the idea in the book, find a better one and sell me on what's better than my idea. And I think the book is much better for it. So yeah, it's not. I wouldn't necessarily advise it for every book and every relationship, but it is one that I think we've benefited greatly from moments where we didn't see eye to eye.
Cool. This is great. And again, this is his first comic book.
It's his first comic. Yeah.
So are you interpreting then the language of a comic script versus what he knows from screenplay?
It's a little different. We have a lot of fights about whether or not to write in Microsoft Word or Final Draft, which is very fun. He's a Final Draft guy, and I'm not a Final Draft guy. I have it, but I'm more of a Word guy. But yeah, my brother is very sharp, and so he picked up on a lot of stuff very quickly. And he reads comics and sort of has been studying them like in a different way than for this. Like he's always been a sort of passive reader of comics, but now I think he's more actively like he'll tell me things and show me things and be like, yeah, I read this Michael DeForge book and like he does this interesting thing and like how do we do that? Or I was looking at looking at Saga and what Brian and Fiona doing that, like this is interesting. But yes, some of it is me having to just be like, no, we don't do that. Sometimes we do it this way. But the nice thing about comics is that it's not so, especially scripting comics, is that it's not as structured. Like no one's comic scripts look like anyone else. So there isn't there's things he does that sort of like tick me off or in a script, and I sometimes just go in and change them and clean them up. But he's not wrong. Like if he was writing the script, he could totally do that. So yeah, it's not as much of a learning. There's a learning curve for him in some ways, but also he's one of the best minds I know for story and like long structure stuff. He's one of the smartest people I know that I've ever met. And so I think he's just as much teaching me as I am teaching him for sure.
Has he written any films or television shows that we'd be aware
of? He's done a lot of shorts. Okay. He wrote a science fiction movie a few years ago called Approaching the Unknown, starring Mark Strong and Luke Wilson, Sanaa Lathan. That's a very good sort of a man on a doomed mission to Mars movie that I really love. I think it's a very different, it's a very small, intimate take on science fiction, take on a story like that. And he wrote a miniseries for National Geographic. He directed that movie too, but he wrote and directed a miniseries for National Geographic called Year Million, which is about a speculative science fiction. It's not based on a book that's like sort of, they interview a lot of scientists about what they think the evolution of humanity would be over the next million years. And so he wrote this TV miniseries that sort of interprets that, of like, what does humanity look like in 50 years? What does it look like in 500 years? What does it look like in 5,000 years? What is it? And like, it's narrative chapters of that. And yeah, it's very fun. I think it's on Disney Plus and Hulu if you want to watch Your Million. It's like a hybrid documentary fiction narrative
docudrama documentary.
Yeah. It has like talking heads and scientists who come in and talk about it, but it also is this narrative about a family. So yeah, and then he's made a bunch of shorts. He was just in LA. I was in LA too, and he had a short in the Slam Dance Film Festival. So I went out and watched the premiere of that, and yeah, so he's made a bunch of stuff like that.
So he's on the West Coast.
No, he lives in Brooklyn. It just happened to be there. He flew out for it, and I flew out for some other stuff, but stayed to watch his movie.
Well, I was wondering too, when you guys collaborate, are you in the same room, or are you throwing stuff back and forth?
He has a kid, my nephew. Nice. So it is, and he runs a film festival and also teaches. He teaches filmmaking at Hunter College in New York.
Oh, wow.
So he has many jobs, and I'm more. I have many jobs, but they're all the same job, and it's writing. So I'm a little more flexible, and so at the start, the first year we worked on the book, we would meet once or twice a week for 5 or 6 hours, and I would go out to his house. But I live in Upper Manhattan and he lives in Brooklyn, so it is a no joke commute on the subway. It is a hour and a half each way. And at a certain point I just freaked out and I was like, we're just doing it over Zoom. I don't want to spend 3 hours a week on a train, which is funny because I used to have day jobs where I would commute and have to do that. But I'm a broken man at this point. Comics writing has broken me, so I don't like to leave my house, and so we do it mostly remotely. But yeah, we get together regularly to do stuff, and still, but it's not weekly. It was weekly for a long time.
Okay,
which was
Ashcan Press, man. You're really the library expands with every project and everything. Yeah. So in fact, here I've got a couple covers of things.
Yes,
and, of course. We're taking everyone down with us. I think that's the last time you and I talked.
It is, yes.
And of course, volumes of What's the Furthest Place from Here. But
yes.
Tell me about this new one that's coming up. In Good Hands with Bad Company.
Yeah, it is. In Good Hands with Bad Company is the sequel to We're Taking Everyone Down with Us. I was doing. We're Taking Everyone Down with Us is a sort of the origin of it is sort of the James Bond spy thriller. And I decided that rather than just do an issue 7 or do a We're Taking Everyone Down with Us Volume 2, number 1, we decided early on that it's much more fun to follow the James Bond model and just rename it and let people know like it's the same thing. And so we're making something that is a direct sequel, but it also is standalone. If you read them out of order, they'll be understandable. But yeah, it's we have a bunch of big plans. Stefano Landini and myself have a bunch of big plans for that universe, and so that is the first next chapter, and it is coming very soon. I'm getting a lot of art in my inbox, and it's awesome looking. And I've written a bunch, and I have a bunch more to write. Have some to write when I get off this, in fact. And yeah, it's at the end of We're Taking Everyone Down with Us. We did a little teaser, and we said, that Rook, the spy character, we said Rook will return. And I think everyone assumed for some reason, and this caught me off guard, that meant just Rook was going to return. And I'm here to emphasize that's if you had a character and We're Taking Everyone Down with Us, maybe even one who died, they may be back. Death is not necessarily the end for characters in this universe, and for some of them won't be back, but some of them will. And so we're just expanding it in a lot of ways, and gonna. It is maybe the most fun book I write for myself. I'm constantly doing my partner often knows when I'm writing it because I laugh at my own jokes, which is mortifyingly embarrassing, and I probably shouldn't just say that, but she will call out and say, "Oh, you're working on that again?" And I say, "Yeah," and she just shakes her head because I'm like, "Oh, that was funny." But I have a really good time with it, and I have a joy. It brings a lot of joy to me in a way that some of the other books are sadder. So it felt really good to get back in and start working on In Good Hands, and I'm really excited to get it out there. But we're waiting a little bit to get If Destruction Be Our Lot out the door.
Sure.
A little more.
Yeah, I understand. No, I don't blame you for that. And obviously, when it is ready, you're welcome to come back, and I want to hear about it, of course. But all right. So this book, however, it's for Destruction is miniseries ongoing. What's the plan here?
Ongoing.
Wow.
Ongoing. Yeah, I looked at a lot of the creators I love and the way they work, and wanted to try and emulate that a little better. I wanted to figure out how the books I love are made, and two of the people I turn to a lot. Robert Kirkman is a huge influence on me. Obviously, I think if you've read my work, you probably know that. And Rick Remender, the same. And those guys are always building things way ahead, taking their time, making sure that no one is cutting corners because of time, because of anything, or because of money. They're paying people fairly so that they can do their best work. And I think there's something, I don't have a problem with comics as a sort of grindhouse mentality of like, just get it out. It's a timed thing. The train's in motion, and we make what we make. I think there's a beauty in that. But I wanted to go the other way. And so we've been working on this book for 4 years, in some form or another. Andy is working on issue 11 right now as we speak.
Wow, great.
I don't know that he's doing it as we speak, but
Matt, the first one's not even out yet, and he's already working on 11. So that's
I think we'll be almost wrapped with the third trade paperback by the time the first issue hits. So
wow,
which is a very different way than I've ever worked, and is very fun. And it means that we do a lot of things that we don't normally get the luxury of doing. It's a lot. I mean, I think I owe a lot of this to my brother too, because he's a filmmaker. And so you make a film, as they say, you make a film twice. You make it when you shoot it, and then you make it again in editing. We've sort of tried to bring that mentality in. And so there are people who've read the first 3 or 4 issues, and I tell them, I was like, what you've read is not at all what's coming out. Like, we've recut issues, we've moved scenes around, we've moved sequences, we've added pages, we've taken pages out.
Interesting.
So it's a wildly different book all the time, and it's just because we find elements that we like and we want to seed them in, or we find things that were fun and we change it, and it changes course, and it's just always growing and evolving. And so it's very interesting to be at the place where, like, we're just about locked on the first issue. We're going to have to send it to print in a few weeks, and so that's sort of going to be the next evolution. Is like, well, that part is set in stone, so what do we do now? But yeah, we have a long runtime, long lead time, and a lot of story to tell.
There's good questions in the chat, and we will get to them. But I did want to ask Matthew, because Matt, were you one of the benefits? Were you part of the 1% as far as Substack goes, where you got grants and everything?
Yes,
and that's great. And tell me about that experience, Matt, because it was really unique from other people. Obviously, just going and doing what they need to do, but having the seed money to really like expand these things. So
100%. That this book, when you buy the book, you'll see that there's a thank you in the front to Nick Spencer, because Nick was the person who was running the Substack initiative. And this book, not to take anything from Nick, this book would exist in some form without him. It was going to be the next book I was going to do. It would definitely not exist in this form, and it's definitely benefited from it. Like the ability to, have Andy working for 2 years and paying him, and without money coming in. It's I'm bankrolling all of that. I'm bankrolling all of it because I got money from Substack. But yeah, Nick is a very dear friend and an old friend from our time at Marvel. He was sort of very helpful. And when he left Marvel, he went to Substack, and I benefited from being very close to him, and as someone he reached out to a lot to ask my advice and opinion on how to, just he wanted my temperature on a bunch of things. And so we were on the phone the early days of him working out the deal with Substack. We were on the phone every single day, probably for a couple months, just like, bullshitting about stuff and chatting about ideas and, people who are could be doing cool things, and what we could be doing and what we'd like to see from the company. He just wanted my opinion on that stuff. And so at the end of that, he said, we're going to make you an offer, just so you know. And so they were very generous and helped. And yeah, they're the birthplace of this book in the form it is. And so the people who are paying subscribers to my Substack will get to see the book a little early, and we'll get some behind the scenes stuff and some secret stuff. So that's always nice to be able to pay that back.
And you've built this community, and I mean, that's still regular communication.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Substack audience and everything. Are you still doing your podcast for the Substack?
I am. We took a bunch of months off. I don't know if you know this, John. Making a podcast is really hard.
Well, not when it's the only thing you do, but I do understand, because doing this as much as I do does interfere with my other projects, like the Word Balloon book. So I can relate. But go on.
My co-hosts Ethan and Griffin are very fortunate and have a bunch of stuff. They're doing a bunch of the Godzilla books at IDW, which are great, and they're doing some stuff for Marvel, and they're doing a new Supergirl series at DC. They just finished a really amazing book called Blink and You'll Miss It at Boom. So they're incredibly busy. They still have day jobs. And we just hit a point where every time we would check in, one of them or both of them seemed like they maybe had the flu. And I was just like, are you guys sleeping? Are you guys taking care of yourselves? And they were like, we're trying to squeeze in some hours of sleep. And I was like, this is a thing on your plate that we don't need. Like, take care of yourselves. Like, I would be heartbroken if the podcast interfered with the quality of their work. And I don't think it did, but I was worried we would get there. And so I just said, hey, we're just going to take a break. And we took a break, and they multiple times were like, hey, but we should bring it back. And I was like, yeah, we'll get to it. And we finally hit a point where I was like, you guys seem like you're in a better space. You've regulated better. You're on top of your properties and projects. So yeah, let's do it. So yeah, it is coming back. We don't have a firm date, but I will say that we taped an episode today. So
great.
It will be back sooner than anyone expects.
Excellent, man. No, that's great to hear. Mason, mentioning Nick Spencer, says he wants you to get Nick back into comics. He wants more of the Fix with him and Steve Lieber. I couldn't agree more. And Mr. Mason also agrees with this.
I would love for Nick to do more of the Fix. He probably won't. But Nick does write Three Worlds, Three Moons. He writes on Three Worlds, Three Moons with John Hickman and those guys. And so he is making comics. They're digital comics now, but they are coming out in comic shops. So you will have your wish. They will be out later this year. I don't know when they're coming out, but I know they are coming out.
I know Dark Horse too is putting their stuff out.
Dark Horse is putting it out, and they have a lot of stuff, hundreds and hundreds of pages, and it's awesome. It's like big, epic, crazy sci-fi.
Of course it is.
Yeah, Nick and John and Mike Huddleston and Mike Del Mundo, and just an amazing cast of people. So yeah, definitely people. If you haven't read Three Worlds, Three Moons on the internet, they're kind of must-read comics, and they're you should tell your comic shop you want to read them because they're awesome.
I'm pretty sure this is Mark Laming, because it's Monkey Mark. He says, I'm always excited to hear about a new book from Matthew. He's one of the best writers I've ever worked with. Of course, Mark is in the midst of a Kickstarter with Alex DeCampi. They are bringing back Dan Dare, great British space hero. And Mark was just recently on Word Balloon. The audio is out. I'm sorry, everybody. The video is coming, I promise you.
Mark is the best. Mark worked on Kingpin with me, and I was just in awe of it. And I constantly threaten Mark that we are going to do another book together, and we are, because I love his work. And there's a book that I want to do that I've talked to him about that it's a book I've wanted to do for 10 years, and I literally don't think another person could do it. I'm like, it's in my head, it's a book with Mark. And so eventually we will find a time when we are both have open schedules and we're going to do it. And it is, I just get excited about it all the time. I think about it all the time. But yeah, Mark's amazing. Thank you, Mark. You're the sweetest.
A-list artist, everybody. If you're not aware of what Mark
100%.
does, and I mean, even going back to American Century, Chaikin and Tishman and Mark and everything. So no, I'm a massive fan, and you're right.
Yeah.
He continues to innovate with his art.
Yeah,
and I can't touch enough about it.
I every once in a while, I think about this book that I want to do with him, and not that I'm trying to replace him, but it's funny because you think about a book and you think about going, well, what if it was more like this? What if it was more like this? And in my head, it has this funny restriction because it's not, when I think about a book, they're a very broad idea. It's not a visual idea yet because it's just the idea until someone's attached. And then this idea has Mark like in the corner sort of saying like, no, it has to, like, this is what it should be because it's got Mark and you want to play to his strengths. And so he's not through his own volition, but the version of him that lives in my head is steering the project always in the back of my mind.
There you go. Rich is echoing our agreement that, yeah, Mark's an A-list talent, everybody. Yeah. And really, if you haven't read a lot of his stuff, you owe it to yourself to really seek it out.
Rich knows, Rich is a man of taste.
Indeed. Also, here, Zach Goyette, I mean, I was going to get to it anyway, but he really wants to ask about King Spawn. Sure. I'm really curious about how that came to be. Spawn is an interesting character and an amazing visual that seems to have a lot of untapped potential. What drew you to King Spawn?
Well, I wasn't drawn to Spawn. I mean, what drew me to Spawn was being a child and reading Amazing Spider-Man and having Todd leave and me being like that was my first awareness of how books were made, because I knew that I loved Todd's Spawn and Todd's Spider-Man and everything Todd had done and Jim's X-Men and all those guys, like everything they were doing, Silvestri and Larson and Portasio and Liefeld, all of them were my favorites. And as a kid, I didn't put it together. And so when they left, I suddenly was like, why do I not like these books as much? And then I was like, oh, Image. Okay, here we are. And that's what drew me to Spawn as a kid, was the magic that is Todd. And that's a good joke.
Real fast. Yeah, Manny says Spawn wears the ultimate chain wallet. I always have to acknowledge the chat for the audio. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. And so Spawn's something I've been a fan of my whole life. Obviously, I feel like if you're of my generation, Spawn is just a foundational work. And someone said to me recently, like, Spawn was the first time that we had our own characters for people my age. That it was like, up until then, you were liking the characters that your parents liked, or your older brothers, or the guys who owned the comic shop liked. And Spawn was our character. And I feel that, like, that when that was said to me, it would hit me like a lightning bolt, and I was like, oh yeah, Spawn is mine. It's special, like, to me and the millions of other people who got to read it at the start. But how it came to be is I got an email from Todd's assistant who said, Todd would like to have a call. Are you available? And I said, yes, obviously. And then I spent the afternoon unable to work, being like, why does Todd want to have a call? And in my head, for reasons I don't know, I was like, I bet it's about toys. I don't know why. The only thing I can think is on top of my bookshelf over there, I have McFarlane Toys made 8 DC vs. Vampires figures of my characters.
Sure.
And I love them, and I bought them all, and I cherish them. And so I'm just thinking about Todd, and I looked at them and I was like, oh, I bet he's calling me about that. And then after thinking that for like 4 hours, I was like, why would he call me about that? That's not what this is going to be. But I had no idea what it was. And then I was like, I bet it's a book. It's got to be a book. And I sat there and I was like, I'm going to, if he asks me what I want to do, I'm going to say Sam and Twitch, because I'm a huge Sam and Twitch fan. and I have to just like be like, I need Sam and Twitch. Like, you got to give me Sam and Twitch. And he called me and he said, I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts on what I want the Spawn to be, and what I want it to be, I think, is something that doesn't come from me right now. And Todd is, among all the other things that people say about Todd that are all true about how amazing and whatever he is, he's also just incredibly kind and generous and like supportive of creatives in a way that is, I mean, it makes sense. He's the founder of Image. It's like the most supportive of creative people, not just in comics, but I think in all of the arts. I think it is the greatest avenue for artists in any of the mediums. But he's just really kind and supportive. And he said to me, he said, I would you ever want to take over Spawn? And I said, yeah, geez. And I was not prepared at all for that. I thought I was making a play for Sam and Twitch. And I said, yeah. And, we started talking. We were on the phone for 3 or 4 hours talking about it. And then I said, yeah, give me a few days to come up with some thoughts. And I came back with thoughts and pitched them to him. And he said something to me that was really like, I've never had anyone give me this level of trust before. And he said, you're writing, you're pitching ideas that feel like they belong to me. You're pitching things that feel like they'd be Spawn books. Like, and I was like, yeah, that's the point. And he said, no, the point is I hired you to be you. I if I wanted a book that feels like I wrote it, I'd write it. And it was, I wish I could take a piece of that and give it to a whole lot of editors and publishers and people in this industry and people who handle licenses, that you go to talent because of what they offer, not the whole you can fit them in. Make room for them to be the person and you'll get a better book. And so that blew my mind. And I said, okay, give me another week. I said, don't even look at this document. Like, don't think about it. I'm going to go and take another pass. And I took another pass and I was like, this is what I think. And he was like, I really like this. It's closer. This needs to be bigger and crazier. And I was like, all right. I was like, I didn't know how far I could go. And he was like, act like you created Spawn. What would you do? And I said, okay. Then I came back and I said, this is what I would do. And he just lit up and that's it. That was months and months ago, and we've been hitting the ground running since then. And yeah, it's been a blast. It's an honor and a privilege and a terrifying crown to put on. So I'm taking over in May. I have a 5-page story in Spawn. Okay. In the back of issue 375, Todd is doing the main story. In the back of 375, I will have an issue, and then in 376, I'm the writer on Spawn in June, and in May, on issue 55, I'm the writer on King Spawn. So, and those 2 books I'll be on both of those books every month.
Is there, and forgive me, is there a difference in where Spawn is in both titles? Is it kind of like Conan and King Conan and that kind of thing?
It is a very good question. The books are right now very tonally different. King Spawn tends to lead more horror. Some of King Spawn is like more of a team up book. Okay. It's Spawn in the same way that Conan is about a guy who's a warrior and King Conan is about a guy who wields power. King Spawn is that. King Spawn has been traditionally like he's moving pieces on a chessboard a little more, but he's still very much in it. We're stepping away from some of that. And so I don't want to give too much away, but basically the books are 2 sides of Spawn and what he does and who he is. So King Spawn's going to be a little more horror. Spawn is going to lean a little more superhero. The shorthand for people when I have to explain it is Spawn is going to be our Superman title, and King Spawn is our Batman title. It's him in the shadows. It's him doing dark things that no one can see, and Spawn is him in the light doing things to try and help people. And they need each other. And so it's sort of not to use the competitor's product as an analogy, but yeah, it's our book is sort of what if Superman's secret identity was that he's Batman, is the difference between Spawn and King Spawn.
So almost would you also say a psychological edge of
yeah, there's a psychological edge to it, and both books are being made so you can read them. Both books are made so that if you've never read a Spawn comic, you can jump in. Like,
okay.
They're not continuity resets. I need that to be clear. Everything that's happened. All of it is going to be a factor and inform what goes on. But we're starting from a fresh place, as we'll see when the issues come out. You're going to have a new cast of characters. You're going to have a new status quo for the world, for Spawn. New villains, and that doesn't mean the old people aren't coming back. That doesn't mean they're not going to be interacting. They definitely are. But to start, we're easing people in by saying, if you've never read Spawn, you don't need to know anything going in. We're going to explain it to you, and then hopefully, my goal is that a lot of new people who've always been Spawn curious can come in and check it out, and for the longtime fans, this is something they haven't seen before, but it is also still a love letter to Spawn. It is fully entrenched. I have every issue of Spawn ever published. I've got all the miniseries. We're pulling from all of that, but it's slow, and we're building it. So we want to make something that's for new fans and old fans alike. And each book is standalone that you can read on your own, but they do inform each other a lot. So you'll get a better experience if you read both, for sure.
Interesting challenge. I like it.
Yeah. It is. I ran through it with a friend of mine, my longtime collaborator, Tyler Boss.
Yeah, who do you go to, Matt? Because again, with a lot of you guys, especially now that you are more independent and stuff, what voices do you trust?
Sure. I don't have a writer's room. My go-to, I mean, I can just tell you who my go-to people are if you want to know.
Sure.
The people I bounce everything off of, Tyler Boss, who is my longtime and constant collaborator on No Bank and What's the First Place from Here, and we're finishing What's the First Place from Here while we're doing a new book together right now. We know what the book is after that book, and we're sort of slowly working on that. He hears everything, much to his chagrin. He has a brand new Spawn t-shirt, and by brand new I mean I think it's a 90s vintage shirt, but when I got the gig and I told him, he went and bought a Spawn shirt, and he's like, it's time. Kelly Thompson, I bounce everything off Kelly Thompson. Ed Brisson,
I love Ed. Man, I've talked to Ed in a minute. My God, good to hear about Ed. Excellent.
Yeah, Ed's the best. And it goes both ways. Like, I hear all about, Thundercats plans and Shadowhawks plans from Ed, and Buffy stuff from Kelly, like everything we're doing. James Tynan, I go to James on everything. Josh Williamson, like I share a lot of stuff with Josh. I talk to Josh regularly. Alex Packnadell. Alex hears everything I do and I hear everything he does. And so all those folks, like they are, and then there's some people who aren't in comics. But that's sort of my trusted counsel. I know I'm forgetting someone. And then there's various people who I'll poke for things like for Spawn stuff. I talk to Tony Fleece a lot. I was just getting, Tony is a 90s guy at such a 90s guy that I'm just like, yeah, Tony would know. I talked to Dan Waters a lot about Spawn stuff. Dan's a big Spawn fan, and Dan just moved to New York not that long ago. So I was just like, let's go get dinner. Like, talk to me early on. I was like, just talk to me about what you love. And I didn't tell him because I wasn't telling people what I was doing at first. It was only when I was like far along and I was like, well, this is happening, that I could talk to anyone about it. And so I took Dan to dinner and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about, like, you like Spawn, let's talk about it. And it obviously like takes Dan about 30 seconds to be like, why are you asking me all this about Spawn? And I was like, well, I think you know. So yeah, that's it. But when I talk to people about it and I tell them the idea, everyone is just like, that's really big, that's really crazy, that's really ambitious. And I had one person be like, why didn't you save that for your own books? Like, you could do, like, that's a cool idea that's huge, and like you could save it and just do it as an image book. And I was like, man, I'm on the biggest stage. Like, I'm on Spawn. Like, I have to take my biggest, best shot. Like, Todd trusted me, and I'm going to give him 110%. So it's ambitious and it's crazy. And when I tell people, they're kind of like, in shock at what the idea is. But if we get halfway there, I'll be ecstatic. So, yeah, it's a long plan. I talked to Todd about many, many years. So we'll see.
Wow.
We'll see how it goes. If people don't buy it, I told him, I said, look, he said to me at one point, he was like, this is very ambitious. And he said, you're changing on some stuff. You're taking some big swings. And, I know what he meant. Todd speaks baseball. I speak baseball. When you take big swings, you strike out more. And I said, look, if I'm up there and I take the big swing and I miss, like, I will understand. I will understand if you need to send me down. But I have to do it. And I think he respects that and respected that I wasn't trying to play it safe. So it's a very different take on Spawn, but still Spawn at its core, 100%, like 100% a love letter to the book. So
I understand that, not knowing what his personality was. I suffered through a lot of Dave Kingman strikeouts when he was with the Cubs.
Sure.
And I know he's with the Mets as well.
He was a Met.
I know it. So I can appreciate that. Well, I certainly hope eventually, because as soon as you said, you told me, and also I had read that you were taking over Spawn and King Spawn. But I would love for you to do Sam and Twitch sometime, because I really think
early on, I said to Todd, I said, can I have Sam and Twitch? And he said, you have Spawn. Like, you can have any character.
Well, yeah.
And I said, yeah. And then I was like, I just really want Sam and Twitch to be in the book. And he said, anyone can be in the book. It's you have the whole universe to play with. And I said, okay, great. And then he said, it has to make sense. You can't just have them in there because you like them, which I appreciated. And he was like, don't have them. He said, they're cops.
They can't take over the story. Yeah.
Don't have them not be doing cop stuff. And I said, no, I have an angle for them that I think is really good. That's, I love Sam and Twitch, and I just want them. There's other characters I want that we've talked about too, but Sam and Twitch are going to appear pretty early. So I can spoil it. They're there.
All right. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. And I have to admit, I don't know why I've never had the guts to do it, but I'm like, if I would cosplay, I'd probably cosplay as Sam. I mean, let's be honest.
You kill it.
Sadly, me or Harvey Bullock would be another one.
Sure.
So that transitions to a question from Alex Sanchez. Out of curiosity, are you done for now doing Big Two stuff? You'd be a huge loss at both of the Big Two. Well, I certainly agree with that.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a very, very kind. I am done right now doing Big Two stuff. I'm really appreciative of Marvel and DC for letting me play with the toys and the time I had there. I still had a lot to say at DC. I still had a lot I wanted to do. I still do. I just hit a point with What's the First Place from Here, and we're taking everyone down with us. And the Four Kids Walk Into a Bank movie was taking up a lot of time, and I couldn't give DC the time the characters deserve, the company deserves, and the fans deserve. And I also was just like, creatively, I just need to be making my own stuff. Like, I just need to. And it's not, they're different things. They just move at different speeds, and at different points in your life, you're looking for different speeds. And that was the speed I felt in my heart. And I was rapping on DC versus Vampires, and I talked to my editors, and I said, they were asking me what I want to do next and what I'm looking for. And I pitched some ideas. I threw some ideas out, and there was a lot of enthusiasm. I met with a bunch of the editors, and I really truly love a lot of the editors at DC. I think they're some of the best editors in comics, and I've been lucky to work with them, and they're just people who want to make things that are fun and good, and people are enthusiastic about, which is a joy, and you couldn't ask for better. And so I met with, Chris Conroy and Paul Kaminsky and Rob Levin, and all of them were like, well, what are you thinking? And I threw some ideas out, and they were like, all of them were very enthusiastic. And I said, get us some pitches, get us some documents. And I just went home and was like, I don't think my heart's going to be in it in the right way that these ideas deserve. And I thought a minute about taking the ideas and, filing the serial numbers off and making them image books. And then I was like, no, these are born for these characters. These are born of these characters, and I want them to be these characters. I'm just going to put them in a drawer. And so I just kindly said, I need to step away. I want to come back. I hope you'll hold the door for me. And everyone is so kind and nice. And they said, yeah. And I was fully into my plan of 2 years of just making creator-owned stuff, making my own books. And then Todd called, and I was like, well, that goes out the window. When Todd calls, you answer. And so yeah, no, I'm not done at DC, certainly. I have things that I want to do that I think they want me to do, that, I love the line, but they're not hurting for talent. They have the best bench in comics by miles. They have, a whole slew of some of my best friends, a whole slew of some of my favorite writers, so I don't think DC is hurting by me not working there. They have, Scott Snyder, Josh Williamson, Kelly Thompson, Jason Aaron, Dennis Camp, like Dan Waters, Matt Fraction. It's just Greg Rucka. It's a joke. Like it's a murder's row of talent that we've never seen before. So, I'll be back. I'll be back for sure.
Well, I was going to mention Matt, because much like Matt and everything, I think that's a great idea in terms of going away, doing all the creator-owned that you've been doing. And man, when the time is right, great, and remind everybody that, while you've got this stack of great creator-owned stuff, that, hey, I've got more to say. It's got to be cool having, though, McFarlane toys of the DC versus Vampire stuff. It's got to blow your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I all the time, like my time at DC, I just feel really lucky. And, I wrote a lot of Red Hood stuff, and the Red Hood fans are so kind and so nice. And I get messages literally every week. I get messages from different people being like, come back and do Red Hood, come back and do Red Hood. And I, that just means a lot. And same with Joker people, like people.
I was going to say Puzzle Box, man. Absolutely.
I get a lot of Joker fans, and there's still a lot of characters that I deeply love. And definitely the Wildstorm fans are always in my inbox. And that is, as near and dear to my heart as you can be in comics. Again, like in the same way I talk about Spawn, like Wildcats is my it's in my DNA, and I loved making that book with Steven Segovia, who's drawing Spawn for me. So me and Steven back together. And yeah, it's I have mentioned from time to time to DC people, I say, I'm going to step away, but if there's talk about Wildcat stuff or Grifter or Zealot or any of them, like I hope you'd at least shoot me a message and ask if I wanted to throw my hat in the ring, because that is I would drop everything to come back for Wildcat stuff. I love Wildcat so much.
Were you invited to any of the Absolute stuff?
Yeah, I talked to Scott before any of it started. Scott called me and ran me through everything. I will say Scott ran me through stuff. Scott's always been incredibly kind to me and incredibly supportive since I started. And I was in his writing class at Warner Brothers at DC when he started that. I was in the first class. And so not only has Scott like helped me out throughout my career, but also like I learned a staggering amount about how to make good comics and make good superhero comics from Scott. And so he reached out when he was starting and said, how can I get you involved in this? What would you like to do? And I was at the point where I was saying I was a little burnt out and on doing, and I think I had to go my own way. And he walked me through all of Batman, Absolute Batman, and what he thought it should be. I said to him at the time, I was like, some of this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever heard. And I was like, and some of this, I don't know that it works. And he was like, well, why? And we talked about it. And I was like, you're sort of selling me, but some of this, I don't think it works. And I've never been happier to be wrong in my life. That like when he sent me, he showed me the first issue when it came out, and all of the stuff that I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, God damn it. It's so good. And it's, and it's a testament to like how little an idea is worth and how much execution is worth, because Scott can make things that on paper don't sound cool to me. When he puts it in a comic, I love it. It's my favorite book. So like, but yeah, he reached out to me and I sort of was like, Green Arrow is something I would think about. And I sort of started to put together an idea, and then it never went further. And I was like, yeah, no, he was looking for other folks, and I just never really followed up on it. And what's funny is that Pornsak Pizza is doing Absolute Green Arrow, and we went to dinner in LA, and I was like, tell me your Green Arrow pitch. And he walked me through it. And I was like, oh, wow. And he was like, what? And I said, well, I had a Absolute Green Arrow pitch. And he was like, oh. And he was like, well, what is it? And I went through mine, and he was like, wow, that's great. And I said, yeah, it's very similar to yours, but yours is just much better. Like, it's just a better idea. Like it's just, we came from the same place on it. We had the same starting point sort of, and then he just crushes it. So I'm very excited. I'm very glad that I get to read that book as a fan, and Pornsak is going to absolutely crush it. So, but yeah, no, it never went further than that. But like Jason is a good buddy. Dennis is a buddy. Al and Kelly is one of my best friends. So like I pick up all the books religiously. I love them dearly. Scott's book. I literally have every issue of Absolute Batman in single issues, and I bought the hardcovers because I was just like, yeah, no, this is a book that I will pull up off the shelf and study. I mean, Nick's art alone is,
But just like you said, man, the when I first saw Nick's design with that giant body and that tiny head, I'm like, really?
Yeah,
really?
I mean, that was in Scott's thing. He was like, yeah, I want him to be this big, like muscular. And I was like, you've already lost me. Like that was the first thing I pushed up against. I was like, go the other way. Like, make him Spider-Man, make him like Ultimate Spider-Man, make him skinny, make him young, like make it like, and he was like, no, I want him to be like an MMA trained fighter who's like big and intimidating. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't work for me, Scott. And then I saw it and Nick's design. I was like, I just saw the cover and I was like, I don't think this is going to be good. And then I read the first issue and I was like, oh my God, it's so good.
I hear you, man.
So
I thought
I love it. I think I would love the book no matter what, but I think there's something extra good about finding something and having a preconceived notion going in and being proven wrong is like such a joy.
I'm so with you. Absolutely. And truly, I thought Scott was kind of written out when it comes to Batman as well. And to have this entirely different idea. And yeah, man. And again, Nick's art is amazing. And it's like, none of us saw this coming.
Yeah.
Other than the nerds that, of course, are like, all right, I got to have a number one. I got to have a number one.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I mean, I'm a fan of Nick's going back to the first time I ever saw his art. But then I saw this and I was like, ooh, that's a swing and a miss. And then now it's like, and I look at the cover to issue 1 now and I can't get back to the mindset of not thinking it's cool. Because I was like, that's how much they made it. Like, they sold me on what cool, like, they didn't say like, oh, it'll be cool, you'll like it. Now I see it and think it's cool when I didn't see it the first time, which is a real testament to the book. But yeah, I didn't think Scott was tapped out on Batman because I know Scott and I know that he's got an infinite well for this stuff and his passion for Batman is, but I do constantly sort of chuckle at like, when I was starting to try and make comics was the start of the New 52. And so, comics were in a little bit of a lull. Sales were down. Excitement was way down. And New 52 came. And obviously, DC did a great job putting people in shops and getting people excited for every title. But Scott is the dude. Scott and Greg Capullo are the people who kept people coming back. Like, that was the anchor of the whole line. And I was like, there's a lot of comic shops that exist today because of Scott. There's a lot of people who have careers because of Scott on that. And like, you can't take that from him. And then he just did it again. And that's the funniest thing in the world to me. I just think that's hilarious that it's like, well, what's the history of my career in comics? Like, the time I was is like, well, every 10, 15 years, Scott Snyder comes in and saves the industry. Is just funny. Yeah, no, it's great. I like those books a lot.
Excellent. People were asking what if we can get an update on the 4 kids walk into a bank movie.
I don't actually know if you can get an update. It exists. It's finished, essentially. They are figuring out the best time for it to be released. It is it's funny because people thought it was April, but there was no formal announcement that it would be April. And so now I see people be like, why is it delayed? And I was like, it's not delayed. It wasn't a thing. You read on the internet a thing that wasn't true, and now you're asking why it's not true. And I don't know how to answer that. That was never true. I believe, well, I don't actually know. It's so far outside of my pay grade to talk about it in some ways, but like I'm a producer on it and we work on it and stuff, but it's a lot of other people's money and time, so I don't want to overstep, but it's coming out. It'll be out in theaters. I think, you know, if you're a betting person, I would say maybe bet that you're going to see it before the end of the year in theaters, but that's all I can really say. It's great. It's awesome.
I wonder again, I don't want you to spoil, but when I thought about the movie and what the story represents and everything, I wondered if there was any concern about kids, you know, robbing the bank at that age, in that same way that Hit Girl got a lot of pushback for the Kick-Ass stuff. That do you really want a little girl this violent?
Yeah,
you know.
It's I mean, I'll tell you, when pitching the movie around and trying to get people attached early on, that was the thing that killed us over and over. They were just like, and some of it was, I think, you know, the prudish nature of American pop culture. But some of it was actually practical. I pushed back on it a lot, and then people were explaining the sort of practicality of it too, from a business standpoint, that they were just like, adults don't love to see movies about little kids, and little kids can't see this because it's too violent and obscene. So like, you've made a movie that hits no sweet spots whatsoever. But like all things Hollywood, that's always true until someone sees the vision for it, and then it changes everything. And we were lucky with Picture Start that they were a company that was like, no, this can definitely go. And we, you know, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg at Point Grey were big champions of it, and they those guys can tell America what's cool, and America listens, and have done it many times. And I think with their blessing, we were lucky enough to get a lot of other people to come on board. So that's where Miramax and MGM, Orion came in, and Amazon, like they all came in. I think, you know, the movie's great and the script's great and the cast is great. The kids are older, aged up a little from the book.
I kind of expected that, to be honest.
For a bunch of reasons. There's a story reason in the movie that they're aged up a little. There's and I think it works. It's a different thing, but I think it works really well. Okay. I was nervous about it, and then seeing it in action, I was like, oh. And the not that there aren't great little kid actors, but the actors they got are stunning and are in a lot of stuff that I really love, and are just doing, you know, amazing performances, and I think all of them are set to be huge stars. So that was sort of a thought, like that we can get people right on the precipice of being famous, and maybe this will push them over. So
cameras are rolling, or have been rolling?
Oh no, it's shot and edited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's done.
Wow.
I mean, there's still like, you know, cleanup stuff and post stuff, but yeah, no, done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That's excellent. By the way, and Rich always flatters me with this, but he says every 10 or 15 years, Scott Snyder saves the industry. I have my headline. So I guess expect a bleeding cool item based on my conversation with Matthew tonight. So that's great.
I need it noted, Rich, that's not going back all of time. He's not some immortal being, but just in his career, he does it every 10 to 15 years.
Mason wants to know any plans for another signing tour this year.
Oh my God, that's an excellent question, Mason. Definitely not. No, we had Tyler and I went on tour, did 32 shops in 31 days. I don't remember how many states it was. It was a lot.
Did you come through Chicago and I missed you? God,
no, we didn't do Chicago.
All right,
if I come to Chicago, we would have had dinner, John. Come on.
God bless you, son. Absolutely. Seriously, Matt and I, and right now I'm blanking who else. We had a great time in Portland that one time.
Oh, it was Charles Soule.
Yeah, of course, Charles Soule. Of course, yeah.
Charles Soule's brother. Yeah.
And his brother. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. No, we didn't do the Midwest. Here's the thing. The Midwest, I used to do years in touring with bands. The East Coast and the West Coast, those are short drives. The Midwest, not so friendly for that.
No, it's not. A lot of flat land, a lot of farmland in between the cities.
A lot of flat land with nothing. Like
it is depressing. It is very Stephen King, The Shining. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're gonna eat some McDonald's because there's nothing else to eat, and you're gonna drive 9 hours. And me and Tyler were just like, oh, it's just, you can do, Boston to Providence to New York, to Connecticut to New York to Philly to DC to Richmond, and it's just, those are 2-hour drives, and you hit 6 major cities. Like it's you can't. And so the West Coast, we did all the way up the West Coast, which was psychotic, but we did it because we thought it would be funny, and it was. So we did San Diego to Bellingham, Washington, and Vegas. We did Vegas, San Diego to Bellingham, Washington, nice. And it's a pretty drive. You get the ocean, you get some mountains, and that was nice. No, I don't think we're gonna do it. One, I don't drive. I'm co-pilot, so I need someone else. I need someone else who's stupid to come with me. And Tyler's not gonna do it because he just had a baby. So
congrats to Tyler. Very nice.
Yeah, congrats to Tyler and Courtney on their darling little guy. But he's ruined the signing tour, and I hope everyone blames him for that accordingly. And I have too much work. I can't just be in a van or in a car for 8 hours a day, and then at a table for 2, and then at a dinner for 2. I'm gonna pop up places. I'm gonna try and make more appearances. I know that Spawn fans will want their book signed, so I'm gonna try and be out there. It's gonna be selective. I've had a lot of shops reach out to me to be like, come through for If Destruction Be Our Lot, come through, and I really appreciate it. But it is, I'm working 7 days a week. I'm working 12-hour days to try and get these books in the shape they need to be. So I just don't have the time for it. But we're definitely gonna do some. So if you're in the Northeast, there'll definitely be some signings. We're gonna announce the next week or 2, and then I'm gonna try and do some West Coast stuff. And I would love to do the Midwest. I'd love to do, the South and Texas and Florida and stuff like that. We'll see where I end up.
I understand, Matt. I'm so happy for you, truly. And honestly, it's been, but you're a great voice in comics, and I'm so glad that you're doing things on your terms, and you've found an audience for your creator-owned stuff. And going back to DC or Marvel, it's in the back pocket, and when the time is right, that's fine. But in the meantime, we get to enjoy all this great new stuff, and especially what's coming out in May with once again the say it, man. I can't.
If Destruction Be Our Lot.
Yeah, because you put it in the Constitution font there, and
we're changing it for the book. This is.
Are you really?
This is a scoop. Eric Stevenson at Image was kind enough to shoot me a message and be like, "Hey, people are having trouble reading it."
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, "Well, it's cool though." And he was like, "No one said it wasn't cool." and I sort of grumbled for a minute and was like, "Oh, they don't like it." And I went to everyone on the team, and my editors are Steve Fox and Eric Harburn, who are Tiny Onion editors, and I went to Andy and Mark and was like, "Yeah, people are grumbling about the logo." And everyone was like, "Well, it is a little hard to read." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "We just made posters for it. We just made preview books." I said, "I have a box of stickers right here." And they were like, "You don't have to change." And no one said you have to change it. And then we posted about the book, and the first comment was, "I can't read what the title of this book is." And I was like, well, fuck. And so we are changing it for the print edition. Our designer, Tim Daniel, who is a great designer, I think a Hall of Fame designer, but also a superhero, because we worked really hard to get the logo where it was, and he loved it and I loved it. And then I came back and was like, "We're changing it." And he just rolled with it. And I was like, "Man, I would have quit." I told him, I was like, if it was me, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would have been like, "No, we made something we like. We're done. I find someone else." And he was like, "Let's go." And he came up with a new thing that we were like, "Oh, this rules." So there's a new logo coming. We may still use that logo on some of the covers because I like it.
That's so okay. Yeah. Honestly, Matt, like for the 3rd or 4th issue, I think it's okay. But that is a big relief, Matt, because truly I'm like, God damn, I am getting old, because
they don't teach script. They don't teach script in school anymore.
I literally, Matt, I swear to God, this weekend I heard a story on NPR that cursive is coming back to schools.
Oh yeah,
and, it's certain schools, and I'm like, Wow, because again, I mean, and I'm a knucklehead. I mean, my God, even with a crayon, I have terrible handwriting. But yeah, it's that's all right. That's a relief because truly, man, I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, it's it'll be fixed. We'll have a poster that people will be like, "What's that poster with the weird squiggles?" And we'll be like, "It's script. It's script."
Yeah,
But
no, I think it's the Fourth Amendment. I think Matt has
yeah.
isolated the Fourth Amendment. There you go.
We had this idea that I think is such a good idea that like it's the story is about the line between humanity and technology and finding his place, and he's trapped between these worlds, and he's this old idea because he's Abraham Lincoln, but he's not because he's this robot, and so it's like a constitutional script, and then it starts to digitally break up at the end, and Image was like, hard to read that last word, and I was like, oh, and I just sent an email to Tim Daniel, and I was like, on every issue, I want the like digital distortion to be spreading. So by issue 20, I was like, I want the logo unreadable. I want people to just be like, well, I know what it is because it's just a vibe. And so like that was the email I'd sent right before Image was like, kind of hard to read. And I was like, oh God, I'm making it hard.
Sorry,
I'm sending notes, make it harder to read. And Image is being like, no, make it so people can say the name of your book.
I want to buy the fucking book, Matt.
Yeah, my brother had a great point, and he was like, I think we should listen to them because they're a book publisher, so readability is pretty important. And I was like, yeah, no, this is all good points. Everyone is a good point. I was wrong on this one. I'll take the L. So yes, new logo coming.
All right, if Destruction Be Our Lot is the title, it's coming in May. And again, compared to, look at that. Good
it's easy to read. It's easy
right there, man. All right, I can read that. That's good.
And then, I will say that logo, the In Good Hands with Bad Company logo, is not from our designer. Our letterer Hassan did it because we needed something super fast, and that's not a statement on our designer making things unreadable. It means that I had nothing to do with it. The In Good Hands logo came with no notes from me. Hassan just said, here, use this. And I was like, perfect, this rules. And it is very Saul Bass, yes.
Very Saul Bass. No, you're right about that, Mr. Manning. Indeed.
And the If Destruction Be Our Lot is Tim Daniel's first passes were much easier to read, and then I tinkered. So all of the instincts I had were wrong. It's 100% me. If you're looking for the common thread on who fucked up logos, it's me.
No.
So that's nice.
Well, once again, the British are ahead of us because Rich tells us UK schools still teach cursive, though we call it joined up writing. The kids learned to curse all by themselves. Indeed.
My nephews live in London and are British, and I have heard them say joined up writing, and it makes me giggle every time.
Dude, seriously, I always say to British people, we're the farmers that dumb down the language because nothing delights me more than when they talk to children that are like, middle school age. And, well, I don't quite agree with it. And they have the most precise language. And our kids, Dick Jane, I don't know. Can I get this? Can I get this in pictures?
My nephews are very eloquent and well-spoken.
Wonderful to hear.
And I'm just like, oh.
Well, they're from a writing family, so they better be. So I can appreciate that. Any thoughts on the Oscars, Matt, before we wrap up?
I didn't watch them, but I know who won.
I understand. You're not alone.
I'm a huge movie weird obsessive, so I have a lot of thoughts. I will say it wasn't my favorite movie of the year. I saw every nominated movie. My favorite movie of the year wasn't nominated.
Okay.
For anything, and that was 28 Years Later. I thought 28 Years Later, every writer I know who saw 28 Years Later has the same thought, which is there's a scene in it that if you describe, I don't want to spoil the movie. There's a scene in it that if you describe it, it sounds like a joke, like you're telling a joke. Like it's so horrifying. And then when you saw it in theaters, everyone I know who saw that scene cried. It was so beautiful, they cried. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a testament to a movie. That's something you don't experience a lot. That like I could describe the scene right now and everyone would be like, that's disgusting, that's horrifying, that's awful. And you're like, no, it was really one of the most beautiful film moments. I also would have liked to see No Other Choice get nominated. The Park Chan-wook film I thought was brilliant. I thought Jessie Buckley was amazing in Hamnet, well deserved. Michael B. Jordan was amazing in Sinners, well deserved. I think you have a little bit of an advantage when you play two characters, but it's deserved. He played them and they're different characters, and I know a lot of actors have trouble with that. I thought he was great. That was a joke, but and yeah, I thought One Battle After Another. I really loved that movie. I thought it was really kind of amazing, and again, had a thing in the theaters. The chase scene at the end. I saw that movie in theaters with my brother, and Ballad of Wallace Island. Rich Johnson said Ballad of Wallace Island was the film of the year. It was very high on my list. That is in my top 5.
Okay.
Truly like one of the funniest comedies of the year, Ballad of Wallace Island, but also one of the most beautiful moving films of the year. Just truly amazing film. Yeah, my top 10 list was very different than the Oscars. Some of it was the same. On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, that was on my list. On Becoming a Guinea Fowl was high up there, and that didn't get anything. And there's a bunch of stuff that I really liked that didn't get nods. But Secret Agent was great. Secret Agent should have gotten more love. But yeah, I thought it was a good year for movies. I think that people are always like, I think any year where there's not a runaway film that people are like, this is the best movie, people assume it's a bad year for movies. And I don't think that's true. And I think a lot of the best stuff was not American. And I think that American audiences sometimes say like, oh, it wasn't a great year for movies. And I don't think that's true. I think it was a really good year for movies. I think there was a lot that was really good. Oh, Marty Supreme was amazing. Marty Supreme was
I really enjoyed Marty Supreme. I'll agree with that. But with Weapons and Sinners, and I'm so glad that because it started with Everything Everywhere at Once. That it feels like genre movies are. I mean, I know Heath Ledger with Dark Knight years ago, but it really does feel like maybe the Academy is more accepting, and really the studios, because really it's ultimately the studios that are promoting these movies.
Oh, sure, and like Weapons and Sinners are undeniable films. They're just amazing movies, and so it's nice to see that. I really like them. I was very happy that Amy Madigan won for Weapons. She was in a movie my dad made in the early 90s, and so she was the lead in one of my dad's movies. So
that's great.
Yeah, I have a real soft spot for that. That was
Chicago girl, and her dad John and I worked at the same radio station, not at the same time, but deep Chicago roots with the Madigan family. So absolutely.
And she's great in the movie. She's great in Weapons.
She's amazing. God bless her.
Absolutely. I saw Weapons at a drive-in, and drive-ins are not good for dark movies. They wash out, and so that was a very dark movie. There's a scene, I don't think it's a spoiler, but you should have seen Weapons by now anyway. There's a scene when like the drug addict guy goes in the basement, and then he freaks out and he runs upstairs, and I was watching it in his car with my partner, and she just turned to me and she said, "What did he see?" And I said, "I don't know." And then he gets on the phone and he's like, "I saw the kids, they were in the basement." And she turned to me and she said, "Did he?" And I said, "I don't know." And we didn't know. And then as we were driving home, I called Tyler and I was like, "Hey, just saw Weapons. I have a question." And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What does the guy see in the basement?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "What's in there?" And he was like, "It's all the kids." He's like, "Why?" And I was like, "We saw it on a drive-in, I couldn't see." He's like, "Oh, that's the best moment in the movie." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't see it." I was like, I didn't see that moment. I couldn't tell." And he was like, "Doesn't he say I saw them?" I was like, "Yeah, I thought he might have been lying." And he was like, "Huh, no, okay, good call." And I was like, "Yeah, never mind." But still loved it. Still great movie.
Mr. Mason wants to know any TV shows you're digging right now.
I don't watch as much TV as I should. I'm much more of a movie guy. I just don't have that much time to watch TV. I really am. I'm not finished with it, but I'm really loving Pluribus. Pluribus is great.
Yep.
Obviously, it's an amazing team. Vince Gilligan, Alison Tatlock, like the Better Call Saul folks, Untouchable. And I'm almost done with Reservation Dogs, which I think is one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. It definitely follows like the Atlanta model of structure, and I love Atlanta. Atlanta's a top 5 TV show of all time for me, so that's one. And then I'm finally, because I tried to watch it for years, because like 4 years ago, Chip Zdarsky was like, Nirvana, the band, the show is the funniest show I've ever seen. And you just couldn't watch it. And I I tried to bootleg it because it wasn't available, and then I'm not good at bootlegging things, I guess, or illegally downloading things because I couldn't make it work. And then finally, someone sent it to me, and the day after they sent it to me, it appeared on Amazon, and I felt so guilty about bootlegging, about having an illegal download of it, that I just went and bought it on Amazon. So I've been watching Nirvana the show, and it is every bit as good as everyone says it is.
I'll check it out. I had no idea.
Super funny, super crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds really cool.
I'm trying to think if I watched any other TV that's really good.
Mr. Manny says the Lowdown was great.
Lowdown, yeah. Lowdown is Sterling Harjo, who did Reservation Dogs, and my friend Duffy Boudreau, who used to do a comic and image called Blackacre, and is a great writer and a good friend, is doing that. DTF, Manny says DTF St. Louis. DTF St. Louis is from Stephen Conrad, who made my favorite TV show of all time, which is Patriot. So I haven't started it.
Patriot on Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, Patriot is my favorite show ever.
Pretty
cool.
I
haven't started DTF St. Louis because I'm holding it like it's a special dessert. When I've earned it, I will watch it.
Hilarious. That's fantastic. Yeah. I just saw it's fun, it's fluff, but Young Sherlock Holmes, it's fluff. It is, but it's Guy Ritchie fluff. I miss Guy Ritchie. He directed the first two. He co-created it. It really is in the same vein as the Downey Sherlock Holmes movie.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it's so weird. And don't worry, Matt, I'm not going to go into a Star Trek jag. But the way that I hate the way modern Star Trek fucks with canon,
sure,
I'm okay some of the time
for Holmes.
What's that? Say it again.
With them doing it on Holmes,
right? Yeah, with Sherlock Holmes, exactly, man. And not all the time. Like the fourth season of Sherlock really did kind of piss me off. I won't deny. And this travels in kind of the same waters, although it is set in the 19th century. But I liked it enough, and I burned through it in 8 episodes.
I'm a big Guy Ritchie guy. I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan.
Yeah,
going all the way back to Lock, Stock. So I'll give that a watch at some point. I'll get there.
Mr. Manny also caught Patriot because of your recommendations on Substack.
It's the best. It's the best show. It's the best show ever made. It is the high water mark of American television.
There you go.
I truly believe that. I tend to talk in hyperbole, and so I always have to put a little asterisk when I'm like, this isn't hyperbolic. I think it's the best TV show. I don't think it's for everyone, but I think Patriot is. I mean, it's definitely my favorite show. Like I couldn't tell you what my second favorite show is. I'm like, well, I love The Wire, and I love Atlanta, and I love 30 Rock, or whatever it is, but Patriot is number one for sure.
I hear you, man. No, I like a good espionage show, and that's why I love Patriot. I thought it was terrific. So that's cool. See, this is why I talk to Matthew, because again, I like his writing and I like his taste. So there you go. And we're all once again excited for what's coming up. So in May, everybody, once again, the hard to read title,
If Destruction Be Our Lot.
Indeed.
Soon and easier to read title. Soon and easier to read font.
And soon as well, following that, a Good Heads with Bad Company. So that's really cool. And we'll keep things going. Honestly, Matt, as always, I really appreciate you coming back. I hope to see you soon, face to face, eventually. But this is face to face as well, so this counts.
Sure.
So
this is great, John. Thank you so much for taking the time. I haven't really gone out and talked about this stuff, and so I'm very happy that this could be one of my first stops to be talking about this stuff.
You flatter me by putting me near the top of the list. I appreciate that, Matthew. Thank you. No, seriously, man. Tomorrow I'm going to be dissecting Starfleet Academy with my buddy Larry Young.
Sure.
And I'm sorry to it's still going to have one more season, but we will be beating the dead horse because sadly Variety has reported that we will not get season 3.
I saw that.
Thank God. I'm sorry, kids. Thank God. I didn't like the show, but that's okay. But we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. And this week, C2E2, I got 3 panels that I'll be doing, 2 on Saturday. Sven Gooley on Saturday afternoon. I'm also I'm really excited. This one panel I'm doing, it's the history of Black comics and Black comic creators from the 30s through the 60s. A lot of untold comic book history. So I'm looking forward to that. And my dear friend Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief and the Halo games. So doing a spotlight with him on Sunday. So that's coming up this week. You will get that all next week on Word Balloon Live, but I will have a few shows in between. And also, so sorry to hear about the passing of Valerie Perrine today. Miss Tessmacher from the Superman movie.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
And really a great career beyond that. I'm going to replay my interview with Stacey Souther, who made that great Valerie documentary from a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So yeah. So there you go. I appreciate you sticking around, Matt, for me cleaning house. Stick around, Matt, if you would, real fast.
Sure,
Before,
of course.
you know. But thanks everybody for watching and listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.